Hello. Bit of a sad day for me today, really, this one. I'm not really a sentimental person, especially when it comes to vehicles and possessions. Things come and go all the time. This particular thing is going today. I sold this quite some time ago, but with the COVID and all the problems with the lockdown and everything, the new owner hasn't been able to pick it up till today. So it's going today, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to show you around this. I've done some previous videos, but I'm going to do one more about the build and this and the interior of this one this time. So let me show you what we're up to. So there she is. It's the last time I'm probably going to own a Bedford Super Vega. This is a 1962. It's been fully restored by myself and some friends. We had a bit of a team on this back in the day. I've probably had this about 15 years now. And I'll do a walk around in a minute. This is probably the first sort of big restoration job that I've done, and we put 12 volt in here and solar, and we used to spend a lot of time on this when the kids were little and go to festivals and stuff like that, but sadly the time has come for it to go. But I'll do a little walk around. This is the original livery of this, in the green and cream. This is the Southern Vectors bus from the Isle of Wight, 1962, like I say, Bedford Super Vega. It's a 30-foot coach. I fell in love with this when I saw it 15 years ago, and it was owned by an old hippie fella who had been had kept it in quite good repair really, but we've still done all the window rubbers. It's been repainted. It's had, well, everything done to it over the years that I've had it. So alright, let's take you in. I just got to run and get a bit warmed up because you haven't run for a while. So the front is basically, we've kept this as it would have been in the day, with these nice leather seats, the Southern Vectors seat rests, or head covers I mean. So apart from the carpet on the dash, this is kinda as it was really. Lovely big screen, beautiful orange overlight there. So like I say, this is probably one of the first conversions I'd done, or the first big thing I'd done. I'd lived on a boat and done some bits and pieces and houses and stuff, but this is the first sort of big vehicle conversion I'd done. So I'm going to walk you around this now, and I'll show you basically some of the things that I think come out really well, and some of the things that if I was going to do it again, I'd definitely change. Every conversion really needs to fit with the person who's living in the vehicle. Now at the time we weren't living in this all year round. We've got a wood burner in here so you can live in it in the winter, but there's really, with these old coaches, there's too much glass, there's too much condensation, and you know, it's not really healthy to live in them all year round unless you do some serious alterations, which I didn't want to do. But there's a lot of things I'd do different if I was going to do it again. Okay, pros and cons. Had that nice lino floor put down, wood effect lino. The beauty of that is it's really light. We've still got access to the bits where the batteries are and all the other little cubby holes. So you got the look. It's easy to clean, easy to sweep out. Bunks this side, which are lovely. This slides out and makes up a double, so you can pull that out like that, and that'll make up a fairly good double that size. We've got a full kitchen here with the fridge, full size cooker, and plenty of worktops. Work and sink all runs off the pumps. All these lights are little run on a house circuit, so there's 12-volt panels on the roof, and that runs all the indoor solar. Oh, I've got a little robin in there. Wood burner, like I say, this is a Windy Smithy burner that I had in here. Even in the winter, this is sufficient enough to keep the place nice and hot. So that's quite nice to have that in there. Right, let's see where our robin is at the back here. What I've got up the back is I've got a double at the top and 2 singles at the bottom. Now, and there's charging points in that corner. See if I can get this robin out. Come on, mate. Out you come. Out you come. Come to see me, huh? The other thing we've got in here is a little flushing toilet. Now, the reason this went in, and I'd never have a toilet in a vehicle again, is because my daughter was very, very young at the time. We were stopping on festival sites, and anyone who's been to any festivals will know the toilets aren't the best, especially if you've got young kids, so I had to relent with that one. One of the things I used here on this conversion was the 6mm ply. I hadn't used it previously, but it went on here really well, and we left the finish as it was and just varnished it, and it came up beautifully. I've used this in loads of vehicles since because it's flexible, it's lightweight, you can finish it in anything you want. So you can wallpaper it, you can paint it, you can just varnish it like I have here. So there's all sorts of different finishes, and it's cheap, you know. A sheet of this is 8 or 10 quid, you know, so you can get a lot done for that. I think most of this was lined out with the 6mm, and then we've carpeted. Because of the curves, it's very difficult to get anything to fit in there, so we're kind of carpeted out fairly much everywhere, and that gives us a nice, especially in the back here, gives us a nice bit of insulation. That is ever so cozy in here when you get in there with the kids when they were little. That was, you know, so that again was a cheap option to carpet that. But even that old cord carpet don't look too bad. Just ply bulkheads, gives it a bit of strength in there. But that's all this is quite effective, and I've used this on multiple vehicles since doing this conversion. Now, the kitchen. That is probably the one thing I would change if I was going to do another vehicle. I wouldn't have proper big thick worktops on there. The trouble with this is, apart from the weight, and it's so important in this because we're 7.5 ton vehicle, but on a small van conversion, when you've done these worktops, the weight of the worktops, the cupboards, full cooker, unless you are a bloody chef, there's no need to have all this in here. What I'd do if I had done this again is probably half the thickness of these, so just have a very short worktop, or not as deep as this. Do it in a slightly lighter wood, because this worktop does weigh quite heavy. Fridge I think is quite a nice essential item anyway, but maybe not a full-size cooker. Again, have cooked in here, I have cooked full meals in here. It's nice to have it, but 9 times out of 10, unless you are living in a vehicle full time, you're not going to be cooking Christmas dinners and roast dinners in here. To cook outside majority of the time, so that was a bit redundant, a lot of it. Similarly to the back, we done these bunks like this, and I actually thought it was a good idea at the time, and I still think it's a good idea to have your bunk beds and all your bedroom at the back of the vehicle. We can shut the door, so when the kids had gone to bed we still had the door closed, and you can still use the rest of the vehicle. I think a lot of people make a mistake of putting like pull-out beds in and all that, but as soon as one person's gone to sleep, you're all got to go to sleep. It's like living with bloody bagpuss. So the bedroom at the back was a good idea. I think the top bunk, unless you are very, very skinny, which I aren't, when you get two people in there's plenty of depth at the top, but the back goes down. It's quite claustrophobic, so I'd probably have put that probably a couple of foot down. The bunks for the kids worked out really well. She got one going one way and one coming up this way, and they've both got a little table and charging point in that corner, so that worked quite well. One of the major things that was a bit of a expense at the time, but I'm really pleased I had it done, is this limo tint. And now on the outside of the bus there's no visual at all, you can't see in here at all, by the company, and they were telling us how brilliant it was and blah blah blah. And I suppose at the time I didn't have the experience to know any different, so we went with it anyway, and to be honest it was the best investment we made. It keeps the heat down. Obviously with this amount of glass in here, especially with these vista windows at the top here, there's so much. If you ain't got any shade, it's like going out in a greenhouse in the summer. So with this on, you can ventilate the bus quite well just by opening the windows and having an airflow through, but it keeps the heat down to a minimum. You've got total privacy, you can't see through this at all, and it was a really good idea. So I'd recommend that if you want to avoid curtains and blinds and stuff like that. Even when curtains are done really well, it still looks a bit tatty from the outside, and I wanted this to look like an original coach from the outside. And we used to do a lot of rallies and vintage sort of stuff, and that wasn't until people came in they realised there was a conversion, so that was quite nice. And back in the sort of early 80s, early 90s, or through the 80s and 90s, this was like the vehicle of choice for a lot of people, and Maggie Thatcher had ruined the country. Everyone was unemployed. It was a really horrendous time for anyone that can remember that, and no one can afford rent. It's a bit like things are now, and a lot of people took a decision to move onto the road where they could at least own something which was their home. These old coaches now like are classed as a vintage vehicle, but back in the sort of mid 80s when this came out of service, you could pick them up for a couple £100. I've even heard stories of people being given them because you couldn't weigh them in at the scrapyards, won't take them, and for a lot of the old livery companies they were happy to dump them and get them out of the way. So it was a lovely living space, and I was going out with a girl back in the late 80s, early 90s, and she lived on a bus, and it was the way forward then. It was the movement at the time, and it's quite funny now for me to look at there's a big increase in van life and people who want to live in vehicles, and for almost the same reasons. Is they can't afford a house, they can't afford a bedsit, they're not interested in getting a mortgage, and they just want somewhere they can live which is their own and a bit of freedom. And it's funny how things come all the way round from 25 years ago to where we are now. Like I say, this has been a real pleasure to own. I never thought I'd be able to afford one. It's been a labour of love to get it up to this standard, and it's now going off to a good home where hopefully that'll improve from where it is now. I'll probably never own another one, so it's been good to have a vehicle, and this has been a really fun vehicle as well. It hasn't, most of everything else I own is practical. It's transits, it's that sort of stuff where you've got to have, it's got a use, whereas this was just a really nice thing to pick up, go out. It's been incredibly reliable. The mechanics are really basic on it. It's got the 350 Leyland in, the original engine, and it's just been a really lovely thing to own and to be part of. So I'll be sad to see it go. There's a picture of it there, like when that was in service. I'll be sad to see it go, but everything has its day, and we're moving on to different things. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I did do a previous one on the coach with my daughter driving it, which was really cool. That was really nice to be able to get that done. Anyway, subscribe, ring the bell, all them things you're supposed to do. It's going to really help me out if I can get up my subscribers up. So thanks for watching, take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.